I don't even know what to say anymore. All right, we're coming off no margin for error series against the Dodgers. It had playoff atmosphere through all 7 games that they played this year. Crazy. We're going to unwrap all of it. We've got, the news and everything that's gone on last week because it's been pretty crazy as we go into a softer September schedule, which is nice. But other than that, we're watching the Braves right now to see if they lose. That'd be nice. But other than that, welcome to Mets Weekly, presented by Empire Sports Media.
On 3-2, Vader swings and misses, strike 3. He struck it out. 5 Met pitchers combined for the second no-hitter in New York Mets history.
All right. Opening thoughts, opinions, takeaways. Go ahead, Frank.
It's different to do these streams with the headache than we normally do it before the headache because, even though the Mets won, there definitely was a bit of stress involved. And you knew that was going to happen. Like you said, you're facing the best team in baseball. Very little room for error. But you know what? They showed a bit of clutchness to really, close it out, get the job done. There was definitely a playoff atmosphere to the series. It was jam-packed in Citi Field. So this was hopefully a nice foreshadowing of what we may see in October.
The 2021 Mets would not have scored a run. I'll tell you that right now. Tony, what do you like from the LA side? I know you're in LA right now, so how does it feel to silence the crowd?
I'm obviously really happy about it. A lot of Dodger fans, friends of mine texting me, hey, wow, Mets are a good team, stuff like that. So nice to be on that side of it. Usually I'm the laughing stock among my Dodger friends. So nice to be on the other side of it. But honestly, I'm not so sure that this is representative of what we might see in a potential playoff matchup. I really think that both of these teams kind of played below their expectations in this series. I think both the Mets and Dodgers are a lot better than this 3-game series. All the games ended in 1-run defeats, 1-run victories. But, obviously the Dodgers had some miscues today. The Mets offense, for the most part, has been slumping still, and I think that continued this series. Struggled even just getting runners in from third with less than 2 outs. And honestly, I expect the games to be close if they do meet up in the playoffs, but maybe a little bit more crisp of games, a little bit better on both sides. But, they stack up pretty evenly, at least 6-7 games into the season series so far, and just happy the Mets could take 4 out of those 7.
Me and Andrew, we made the video of the keys to beating the Dodgers. And we've talked about how, well, they do match up with them because they can outpitch them and they can control the game if they can. To be honest, I will say, I will disagree a little bit. I kind of expected this series to be like that, where the offense would be a little bit starved and 1 run would mean 1,000 runs. That's what I kind of expected because of how elite and amazing these 2 pitching staffs are, especially from the top, obviously. But other than that, all I can say is that, these are the teams you got to beat. And they beat them 4 out of 3, 4 out of 7. Jesus Christ. 4 out of 7. And that's what you have to do in a playoff series. In best of 7. National League Championship Series, we know that's where the Mets will face them if they do end up due. And that's pretty much all you got to say right now. Main takeaways, specific takeaways, Frank, from this series, because there was a lot to take away, and then we'll get to some fun stuff during the week.
We mentioned a little bit of the Mets struggling offense, but one thing I've said all year is the one thing you could always do is hustle. And there are plenty of times where that's going to bring you good things. I think you saw that, particularly the play with Gavin Lux or Starling Marte running out of the box on a very routine ground ball against Gavin Lux. We've seen Starling Marte, sometimes he's running, sometimes he's not, trying to negotiate that whole groin thing that he has going on that he's dealt with pretty much all year. but him turning it on to show that just that extra sense of urgency led to the big inning for the Mets, led to them winning the ball game. The mistake that the Dodgers made at third base, Trace Thompson trying to come home when he really shouldn't. It's only been 2 runs scoring. So just having just that extra sense of urgency, being heads up, the play that fell in between Lux and Mookie Betts. So you don't really see that happen from the Mets where, let's say, Jeff McNeil just all of a sudden gives up on a pop-up. I think if anything, you see Jeff McNeil diving, trying to kill himself to get a pop-up. So I think that different sense of urgency between the Mets and Dodgers is pretty stark in that regard. So that's something that, there will be times when Alonso slumping or Vogelback or whoever, but if you run everything out and you're putting the ball in play, just try to put as many good at-bats as you can, every now and then things will break your way. So Spencer Strider called us lucky. Zach Wheeler's called us lucky. But when you get to September 1st and you're still doing the same stuff and it's still giving you success, all of a sudden luck goes out the window, and it's actually what it is.
I'd say that, overall, I'd say the Mets were a lot more hungry in this series. And I think that just goes without saying that the fact that the Dodgers are 18, 19 games into first place. The Mets are still in a dogfight with the Braves right now, and it's not going to go away until they clinch that division title. So all I can say is that, there was more of a sense of urgency here. And all I can say is, I don't know how Dave Roberts manages a team. I don't know how he's the manager of this team, but you know what? Maybe worse managers have won and been more successful. But all I could say is that guy is a fucking idiot. But other than that, I mean, that 6 minute delay of him crying about the stadium lights. I mean, Jesus, that's just an LA complaint. I mean, that's an LA style complaint of people just complaining about nothing. And then let's not forget, back in LA this year, Dave Roberts didn't even know the 6-run rule of putting a position player on the mound. Like, this guy is an embarrassment to baseball. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know how, again, the team's good. He's got an all-star team. He's got an amazing team around him, but this guy's embarrassing sometimes. He's embarrassed himself a lot. Tony, main takeaways from this series.
Main takeaways. Well, Frank, you hit on the one, not necessarily that particular play, but that really is just what Starling Marte embodies. I mean, dude, in my opinion, maybe I'd have to look at some other guys, but maybe the best free agent signing in baseball this offseason when you consider what he's getting paid. 4 years, $80 million. This guy's been tremendous. I mean, had the 2-run homer last night, had the home run on Tuesday. Obviously, was a big part of this win. Gives us great defense. I mean, just electrifying player. It's someone the Mets have not had in such a long time that does a little bit of everything to contribute. Awesome. And then, I mean, how could you not talk about Brandon Nimmo's catch of the year? I mean, just when he went up like that, I did not think he came down with it. I was waiting to see the ball bounce on the cement behind the fence and to be like, well, there goes the lead, and somehow it comes down with it. I mean, last night was just awesome between that catch, the crowd, Timmy Trumpets, just awesome, crazy fun series to have won. I think everybody would have signed up for just winning 1 out of 3. Obviously the Rockies helped us out on Tuesday, beating the Braves. That was a surprise. So, had we lost these last 2 or 2 out of 3, we'd be like, all right, at least we still have the lead. But to win 2 out of 3, to put more pressure on the Braves and now go into this easy part of the schedule, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better recipe for success going into this last month here.
You put yourself in the driver's seat, and that's something that we haven't seen Mets teams do in a really, really long time. Starling Marte swinging 3-0 today. Does that remind you of another outfielder that we signed for 4 years? Just saying. But other than that, I mean, Nimmo.
Cespedes?
No, the right fielder. We've made this comparison before. Veteran guy, was a center fielder, moved to right field. Part of a World Series team.
Came from the American League.
Okay, so we're talking what? On the current team?
No. It was someone they made on their
from
last
past teams.
Run, yeah.
All right, who is it? Just tell me, because I'm not.
Curtis Granderson. There you go. There you go. Exactly. Veteran presence. There you go. There you go. But other than that, Brandon Nimmo,
He didn't wear a
that
Mickey
was
Mouse chain though.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Swag. So much swag.
Oh,
I don't know if
yeah,
you guys saw. Did
absolutely.
you guys see the Mickey Mouse in right center yesterday in the 7 line? The Mickey Mouse.
I bet he got a kick out of that.
Listen, he's representing the memes that go down with the Mickey Mouse hits that everybody claims that we get. So you know what? Listen, go around with a joke. You steer into the skid. Why not?
If
But
I
other
may
than that,
say,
all I can say is, oh, go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. No, and like we talked a lot of positives, and I'm feeling very positive, obviously, after this series. But I do have to bring up one big elephant in the room, and it's Tub Darren Ruff. I mean, look, I know he got the sack fly that put them ahead. He's been putting up somewhat more competitive at bats lately, but this guy can't be hitting in the fifth spot behind Pete anymore. I mean, they're not giving Pete anything to hit because they know they're going to be pitching to Darren Ruff. All right, we brought this guy in to hit lefties. He's not got the job done whatsoever. And just the fact that they are burying Mark Vientos. And I know I saw what Buck said today. He's not under consideration because they don't believe in his defense. Totally get that. That's why there's a DH. Why not just see if this guy can hit lefties at the major league level? He crushes them at AAA. He's 22 years old. It can't be any worse than what we've been getting out of Darren Ruff against lefties over these last couple weeks.
Yeah, that's all I gotta say. But like, we'll get to Ruff in a second because there's like so many angles that you can go off with this one because it's just like you ask why sometimes, and you're asking how, and then you're asking why again. But I'll just direct right back to Nimmo for a second. That was electric. That catch was, I'd say, 9 times out of 10, that's not happening. We already know that, especially against the Dodgers, against all odds, with all of this one-run game, that's not happening.
And Justin Turner hitting it.
And Justin Turner, too, against all odds right there. That's going against the entire Lowell Mets, like the whole biography. It has been incredible seeing Brandon Nimmo go from one of the worst defensive outfielders in all of baseball to one of the best defensive center fielders in all of baseball. This guy, I mean, nobody would have thought it. Nobody would have thought that was going to happen because of how bad he looked 2019, 2020. I mean, we've all been like, oh, get a true center fielder. George Springer was the guy to bring in, all these other guys that they could have brought in for center field, trade for Mookie Betts. We've even heard about that stuff, but I mean, he's turned into a great center fielder. Still doesn't have an arm. Maybe he can, he did all that training to get faster. Maybe he can get a stronger arm eventually. But, again, he's 20, what is he? 28, 29. He's still got room to do that. But other than that, I mean,
Start Mark take him in the gym and get that workout going for him.
Oh yeah, it's just I don't even know what to say anymore. It's been incredible. The transformation from 2019, 2020 Nimmo in center field to now is just incredible. It really is. But I mean, what else is there to say except incredible series. That's all I gotta say. I don't even know.
To me, the best part about the whole Nimmo thing was his reaction afterwards. I was not expecting that. I mean, I've never seen Nimmo reality. I mean, he was pumped up, and it was a moment to get pumped up. The crowd was into it. Jake was into it. It meant that Timmy Trumpets is on the way. It meant a lot of good things. So I was excited that he made that catch, but I just wasn't expecting to see Brandon, especially with the game not over yet. It feels like the game, last catch out of the game, okay, maybe. But the fact he did that during the course of the game, it was very uncharacteristic from Nimmo, but it was just a very exciting play all the way around.
I don't think he's had that many exciting moments to get excited about. I really, it's a different energy. This team,
that one year the Mets stunk, but
every year we like to say, oh, this team is different and whatever, but like, we're in September now, and we're like, okay. Well, maybe we're correct as the.
I kind of like that camera angle.
It's almost like we're in the same room.
That kind of works. I kind of like that. But other than that, Andrew, you want to any takeaways that you want to bring in from the Dodgers series, the one before, which I can't even remember. Who do we play?
Colorado
Rockies, yeah. Yeah. Again, this was a statement series. Again, this is what most likely the NLCS is going to look like if Vegas gets his way. This is what the NLCS looks like. And winning 4 out of 7, like I said, you got to do that in October. And again, did we get bailed a little bit today? Gavin Lux just forgetting how to play baseball at times? Yeah. But you know what? Sometimes it's better to be lucky than it is to be good. So you take every advantage possible. Kershaw, you didn't attack Kershaw early. You only get that 1 run. Gavin Lux gives it right back. So again, you take your give and take. You didn't get aggressive in the first inning. You get bailed out later. But again, good series. Obviously, DeGrom pitched well. Nimmo with the catch of the year. Again, this little statement series. Again, Braves, they're playing the Rockies, but that stretch, Braves are going to be on our ass. We could have definitely, this league could have gone down to 1 game, especially like Tony said earlier. We were hoping for 1. You win the series, and obviously with them playing the Rockies, keeping them a little bit of distance between us and the Braves. But again, Otto pitched good today, yesterday. Diaz, not great today. Getting a little bit of win luck, but again, more of the lucky Mets narrative. But you know what? 2 out of 3 at home against the Dodgers. You take that every day of the week.
Yeah, I do want to talk about Diaz for a second. In any other circumstance, that would have went a completely different way. Many fly balls. We haven't seen many fly balls off of Diaz recently, especially with a over 50% ground ball rate this year. That might go down after the appearance he just had. But all I can say is I feel like Diaz, before that pitch to Lux, he heard the lull Mets. He heard Tony screaming. He heard it. He heard, dancing and laughing and making the memes. He got pissed off and he said, you know what? Fuck you. 103 down the middle. You're gone. And that was it. I think that was the angriest I think I've ever seen Edwin Diaz. And it shows that these guys want to win. These guys are, they have an actual pulse. Does that have to do with, the whole environment that you see now and maybe maybe the whole the situation that we had with the other manager that was just, giving us, what was it, roofies in the dugout or whatever. But
robot lizard,
the robot, the
Robot
sleepy giant or whatever you want to call it. But
terrible.
I mean, just it felt like a playoff series. That's all you can really say. There's just so much to unwrap there, and just it's been crazy. Frank, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I say it's definitely a stark difference from when Diaz would blow a game in 2019. He would be smiling, and now when he made a mistake this year, you see him very pissed off. So you can definitely say a maturation process from Diaz, and you feel like when things were going wrong in 2019, it would kind of just snowball, and he wouldn't be able to get out of it. But he's shown a really good ability to snap out of it, and that save last night. We talk about the potential of low Mets. When Timmy Trump is in the live performance, 2-1, heart of the Dodgers order, that had opportunity for low Mets written all over it. And that was a lot of pressure. I don't care. Everybody says that was a lot of pressure. And he got out of that. So I think that's a really good sign for, as these games continue to be important. And we've seen a lot of these moments, whether it was the no-hitter or, the fly-out save against the Yankees, whatever it was. Like, we've seen just a lot of moments this year from Diaz where there's a lot of pressure and he's come through. So I think that's a really good sign going forward.
He was smiling when he gave up save. Did he do that, or was that Mickey Callaway?
There were times when Diaz
was that Mickey Callaway that was doing it?
No, it was both of them.
Really?
I remember against the Nationals very clearly. Victor Robles. Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh,
I don't remember that. I personally, I don't remember that. That all just went up by in a blank, I guess. But yeah, other than that, I mean. Yeah, there's just been so many moments this year where you're like, okay, this is not going to go our way. There's no way this is going to go our way, and it just keeps going our way. And you know what? Maybe this is finally our year where we get lucky, as Spencer Strider would say. But other than that, it was up and down the bullpen. Didn't know if it was coming.
That was today.
Oh.
You mean he's
today? Yeah, Lugo was warming up, right? They didn't use Lugo. Joely was warming up. They didn't use him.
Thank God.
Thank God, because I could not take back-to-back of May and Joely Rodriguez is too much.
No.
But yeah.
I did want to say, I thought it was interesting that you brought it up because I was going to mention this earlier. Diaz has now given up a couple of warning track shots here over his last two saves, other than the one other than yesterday. The game against the Phillies, 2 warning track shots. Today, 2 warning track shots, which if that wind's not blowing out or in from Citi Field, those are probably both home runs, I would think.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Are you at all concerned a little bit? Maybe they're deciding to jump on him now at certain pitches or counts or anything like that, or what are you thinking about that?
I think it's really just wherever he locates it, and that's really where I'm all going out with him. Because if he goes to the intended target, he's going to get the swing and the miss. That's what's going to happen. And maybe as many pitches as he's thrown this year, some of them just get a lot of the plate, and that's just what happened. We just saw Justin Turner to the second classified barrel against him this year. So that's how crazy dominant he's been. So it's like it's basically wherever it needs to be located. And if that dumbass behind the plate gives high fastball on an 0-2 count when the guy's waved at 2 sliders, then you're going to be having a problem. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm not here to panic yet, to be honest. He's looked a little, hasn't had like the most clean outings as he's had, but it happens. They'll have that stretch of the season, but you're hoping it doesn't go to that point where in the playoffs that's when it starts to unravel. But I don't know. He's held on to it and he's kept his confidence. He's had still the confidence in the slider, and that's pretty much all you gotta ask for at this point. But anything else about the team, and then we'll get to Old Timers Day, because I do want to talk about the legends coming back to Citi Field. Nothing? All right. Old Timers Day. Something that needed to happen, I'd say. I don't know. 20 years in the make. When was the last time they did this? 1990.
I feel like they said
6?
94.
94.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the entire length of my parents' marriage. Wow. Okay, so legends return. I would say that a lot of relationships have been kind of patched up from the previous ownership with a lot of the former players as well, which is really good. And one thing that, it's just you take away from that is what a change it's been, from the Wilpon to the Cohen era. And obviously I think, we all talk about how like, oh, well, it's better, but he's really outdone himself. He really has. He's really done an incredible job. Have we been 100% agreeing with, every single move that this organization has made in this new era? Absolutely. We're Mets fans. We're going to complain about something. But all I can say is that he's done a fantastic job. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's so good to have a fan as an owner. And, because he gets it. He wants to win. And he wants to make the Mets a hot commodity. And he has so far in these less than 2 years of owning the team. So Old Timers Day, Frank, a lot of your childhood heroes, a few of them you weren't born before, but, I think, few years, they were older than you, but you had a lot of them that you were older than. I'd say just main takeaways from Old Timers Day, because there was so much that went on. You had a lot of the 86 team come out there. You had Willie Mays' number getting retired by the Mets in number 24, last worn by We Won't Talk About. So, Frank, what do you want to say about Old Timers Day? Because as an old timer yourself,
Right. I was glad to see a lot of my childhood heroes, stepping up to the plate and pitching. But one thing that was cool was just seeing Cliff Floyd swinging a bat in a Mets jersey, seeing Andy Chavez track down a fly ball in a Mets jersey, or Bartolo pitching. Like, I just gave you a lot of nostalgia with some of these guys, some good, some bad. I still don't know why Steve Trassel was on this team, but that's beside the point. A good thing they didn't make him pitch too long, or else that game would still be going. I definitely so that definitely was a bit interesting, but I think the main takeaway, it's pretty obvious. David Wright it felt pretty glaring in my opinion, especially when they did that segment before the game where they were interviewing Reyes, Murphy, and Terry, and they were talking about David, and it's like Reyes and Wright were like this. Like they were the two guys on the left side of the infield. So if Reyes doesn't feel like he's old enough to be on the Old Timers Day roster, I feel like David should have been the same way because, like, you know what? You had Piazza there. You had just, like, so many Mets legends. And it's like, I don't want to, knock on wood, risk, like, you might not have all those guys here next year. I mean, So it would have been nice to get as many people as you possibly could that are alive and healthy right now at the Old Timers Day because it just feels like of this generation, like, David Wright is our Tom Seaver, or like to some generation, like our Mike Piazza. Like he's been our guy for the younger generation. So to see him not there, it was pretty glad. I mean, like even in the crowd, like could you even go to the game? I mean, just like some at the introduction, like something you have to play, but like just being there in some kind of capacity.
Get him on Skype. Something.
To me, it just felt like a really glaring loss. It kind of stuck out to me. But other than that, it was a really fun time. I'm thrilled that they did it. And it's something to look forward to for years to come, for sure. It definitely, all things considered, turned out really nice.
Yeah, I don't think there's really much of like, oh, I'm David Wright, I'm not doing this. I think it just kind of got into his schedule and something important he had to do, and that
he
that
said
was
he
that.
Felt like
but
he wasn't an old timer yet. That's what I have.
Yeah, that's true. I think that was just kind of like wise guy comments, but
wise
other than
guy,
that,
eh?
Shifting off at Old Timers Day for 1 second, Tyler McGill just struck out the side in the 6th inning for the AA Binghamton Rumble Ponies. He was up to 97 miles an hour on the fastball. So. Back to Old Timers Day. Tony, you're old, but you're not as old as Frank. What did you like to see from this?
I just think that forgetting Starling Marte, forgetting Max Scherzer, Canna, this may have been the best investment that Steve Cohen has made in the Mets since he became the owner and operator of this franchise. And I'll tell you why. Ray Knight quoted saying, "I love the Mets. I hate the Wilpons." Okay. This was an amazing weekend. It righted so many wrongs that the previous ownership committed over the last 20 plus years. Ray Knight said it there himself. And then you saw it on the field by retiring Willie Mays' number, which I was watching most of this while I was out and about. So the volume was low. At first I was like, why were you retiring Willie Mays' number? And then when I came to find out that it was based on the promise that Joan Payson had made and that this really resonated with a lot of Willie's teammates and other former Mets, they hit it out of the park with that. And this is why it was such a great investment. These current players saw how beloved and celebrated these former Mets were even 30, 40, 50 years later for some of the Mets on the 60s teams. And these current Mets see the relationship that has been repaired by this franchise. And I just think that it's only another feather in Steve Cohen's cap, and it's only going to want current Mets players and players from other teams to want to come and play for this organization more because of how well the ex-players are not only appreciated by the fans, but now how well they're being treated by the owner and the franchise. So 10 out of 10, grand slam, hit it out of the park. Absolutely awesome job by Steve Cohen and the Mets.
This would have been autograph heaven, Andrew. You couldn't go. You sold. You fumbled the bag. As much as you saw, what did you take away from this?
Yeah, a la Tony, I was actually driving back from autographs. I was driving back from Kansas City, and obviously listening to it. Again, the surprise retirement and the fact that they kept that a secret that no one knew beforehand. Like if that's the Wilpons, you would have known 10 months ago. Oh, he's going to get his number retired at a la whenever the date was. But yeah, it was fun. I mean, obviously you're missing a few guys. Obviously David, the certain outfielder that's broadcasting for the Yankees, which we got one Yankee broadcast. We didn't get the other one, but keep that, hindrance. Let a couple more years, go away, and then he'll be back. But yeah, again, it was just fun seeing some of the guys that obviously when I wasn't born, I'm like half these dudes like, bro, like I looked at my dad, I'm like, you went through these guys, Jesus. And I think about it. Oh, I had to go through the dark ages of the early 2010s. Okay, it all makes sense. But yeah, there was, besides David, it was just fun to see. Obviously, as the autograph guy, it sucks, but most of the guys I know that graph didn't know what nobody signed, which is pretty funny. But yeah, it was a great, little 24 hours, and the Mets won. So, obviously, it's fun to see the game, but the team that we care about, did win the nightcap. But it was a good day. I wish I was there, obviously, but we'll see when the next one is. Did they confirm they're going to do it every year, or is this going to be like every couple of years they'll do this? I don't think they should do it every year. I think once every 2 to 3, that would be a good hey, let's make this thing special more than just all right every year you have to do it. Let's just make this like a special event once every couple of years.
Yeah, my dad was actually talking about that, how they shouldn't do it really every year, kind of make it a little bit more of a special type of event. And maybe they'll do something a little bit different next year. We don't know. But yeah, all I can say is there were castmates that were, they were missing. But sometimes it's like with cars. The first one was never the best. So maybe it'll be even better the next time they do it. I think David will be back the next time that they do it. I definitely believe that. But some guys that you think that should be Scott Hairston, I think he should have been there. Just the staple legacy of killing lefties, something that the Mets cannot do at all. Just that type of guy, he needed to be there. Another guy that needed to be there as well, Jason Isringhausen as well. Fantastic reliever, did not give us any heart attacks over the early 2010s and even before that when he was there the first time. But I did talk about Mike Cameron. I was surprised he did not make it because he's kind of been around a little bit. Mookie, we've obviously seen around. He's everywhere. I'm pretty sure there's about 17 Mookie Wilsons along the 5 boroughs of New York City. And he looks like he can still play, to be honest. He looks good. And then Andy Chavez looks like he can also play. I was getting ready to have him replace Travis Jankowski in AAA. But other than that, I mean, it was incredible. And then, the Willie Mays, it got a lot of shit on Twitter of the Mets. Oh, retiring Willie Mays, retiring Willie Mays' number 24. Oh, he only played 130 games for that. It really wasn't a Mets thing. It was a New York baseball thing. And it was kind of a New York City thing and how much he meant to the city of New York. And that was basically what they tried to express there. And I think they did an excellent job. Fuck Twitter. No one cares about what you guys think at the end of the day. But all I can say is that it was just a job well done. And it's just it's the first of more to come for, under this ownership. And I'm really excited to see what they do in the future. Anything else on Old Timers Day? And then we'll get into trashing this terrible team that we have to see every single day. Nothing?
You said
okay.
do, just so you know.
Nice. That's really nice. Okay. Anyways, I'll start with Francisco Alvarez. We got some news today. And I'm a little, I don't know about this.
Cautiously optimistic.
I'm a little like, yeah. We all know he can't play in the postseason. We know he can't now, past September 1st. Neither can the other prospect. We'll get into that later. But all I can say is that this went from he needs surgery and out for the season to he's getting an ejection and will play probably in a week or two. So what's going on here? I don't like the sound of this. I'm going to tell you right now, because if the guy's not 100%, he's our number 1 overall prospect. Shut him down. If he's not healthy, he's not healthy. Shut him down. If he's going to be nursing an injury, I don't like the sound of that. I really don't like the sound of that. So, prospect guy, Andrew, I'll start with you. How do you feel about this whole situation? Because it's kind of like it went over too quick and it looks a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the first person that put it out was Tacomo, and you know how much narrative ball he likes to shit on the Mets. So the fact that he was the first guy to put it out, they're like, oh, it's surgery. He's probably tweeting happily, like, oh, I get to tweet out, lol Mets, whatever. But yeah, it was definitely going from surgery to like, oh, he's fine, he'll be back in a week. That was definitely a, what the hell, especially with the ankle where it's like, it's an important body part. It's not like, Brett was with his thumb. Like, that's the weird, BS. Like, your foot. You need that. Like that's important. You're on it, you know, whatever. But yeah, it is definitely something to keep in mind. I mean, because even before it, like he was playing one day and then sitting for 3 days. Like it was that weird where like he wasn't in the lineup every day. And we're like, what the hell's going on with Alvarez? Like he's not playing. Like he'll play a game, he'll go 0 for 2, 1 for 2, and then just sit down for 3 days. And we're like, is there not like that was alarming to begin with. We're like, he's not playing every day. What's going on with Alvarez? And then this comes out. We're thinking, all right, he's done seeing spring training. To now, it's like, he'll be back in the lineup in a week. So there is something to be concerned. Could it be an overreaction from maybe the Syracuse doctors? Maybe, and then obviously he gets the X-ray and they figure out what it was. It is something to be weary of the last 3 months of the minor league season to keep an eye on it. But if it's fine, I guess, but it is something to worry about. I don't think he should be catching. You know, if this is a thing, just make him a DH. Just let him hit. Don't let him, crouch down, put on any more pressure on that ankle. I think if for the rest of the season, he should just strictly be a DH. But we'll see. Again, hopefully this is just like a nagging little thing that just wouldn't go away, and then maybe they overreacted to maybe a big when it's a smaller thing. They thought it was a bigger.
Yeah, all I can say is that I'm just not trying to have a spring training explosion where, we saw, Carlos Carrasco. Oh, he got elbow surgery over the offseason. We didn't tell you anything about that or whatever. And then Matt Allen says, oh, I just had a nerve correction. I just had another procedure, whatever. Right. So, kind of want to be cautious with this, but you know what? If he's going to play through it, he's going to play through it. There's nothing I can really do about it. There's nothing we can do about it. But your number one prospect, this is the guy that's going to save the catcher position forever and ever and ever and make us, get rid of that fat piece of shit wearing number 33 right now who got a hit today.
Hey,
but whatever.
Hey. He's the reason we won today, technically.
If he dropped dead on the field, we probably would have won either way. But oh god. But other than that,
that's not a good way to get monetized, let me just tell you.
Whatever.
Wishing death.
I mean, that's the reason he doesn't have a Twitter right now.
Yeah, they launched me on Twitter. I can't imagine why.
Who cares right now? All right. Tony, you have anything you want to say on this Francisco Alvarez business? It's just kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, it was really strange. It kind of like leaked out like a leaky faucet, if you can imagine that metaphorically. It just was like we heard little bits and pieces of information over the last couple of days, going back to last week. I didn't look too much into it because it didn't sound that serious. Then all of a sudden, he might be out for the season, and you have to be thinking like, oh, he needs surgery, and that's what we heard. Then today, just now on the broadcast in the 8th inning, is when Gary Cohen revealed the information to me, at least, that it sounds like they're going to give him a shot, that he has a loose body in his ankle, and he may be able to play again in 4 to 5 days. So big disparity between out for the season, potential surgery, and getting a shot, might be ready to play in 4 or 5 days. But, honestly, you don't want to risk it with this guy. He's a catcher. Obviously, he's on his, in the crouch the entire time at that position. It'd be not. I mean, is Syracuse even in a position to play playoff games? Okay, right. So the minor league
stink.
The minor league season is almost over. I don't even know why you would think about trying to get him back out there. I would just let him be done with the season. I can't imagine there's more than 10 games left for the minor leaguers there, maybe even less.
3 weeks. You got 3 weeks. You got about 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Yeah. All right. So 15, 16 at most, I'd guess. But regardless, you don't want to risk it with this guy. And if you're really pushing to see him get more AAA at-bats so you could maybe see something positive and, have the idea of promoting him at the MLB level entering 2023, then you got to make him the DH. Even that idea I don't love. I would just let him have his season be done, and just hope he can be healthy going into 2023.
Yeah. It's kind of just messing with a future of top-heavy prospects in this farm system where we're looking at AAA. There's not much aside from, when you look at, Alvarez, Beatty, the farm system got better after the draft, but a lot of those guys in the top 10, they're not going to be ready for another 5 years. So, 3, 4, 5 years, so all I can say is that You're dealing with thin ice here. Now that's what you're looking at right now. And speaking of thin ice, number 1 prospect goes down in Francisco Alvarez. Number 2 prospect also goes down in Brett Baty. Torn UCL in his thumb. I didn't even know thumbs had UCLs, but you know what? Seeing the Mets coming up with crazy injuries all the time, I ain't no doctor, so who fucking knows. Beatty's injury, the impact on the team, all that stuff, all the thoughts on that. I'll go to Beatty's fan. Andrew, go ahead. How do you feel about this? There you go.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the thumb, which we don't really even know what play he got injured on. They said it was like in Saturday. Did we figure it out?
On Sunday, they showed a diving play he made, and then afterwards he came up like kind of shaking his hand.
Okay.
So it was on the Sunday.
So again, a freak making a play gets injured, BS injury again. Taking him out potentially for the whole year. There's chance he could be back last week in September to the playoffs potentially, but I doubt he will be on the playoff roster if Guillorme is healthy. But now with this injury, definitely showed potentially not seeing. What's that? Not seeing Mark Vientos because they wanted the defensive versatility of Devin Marrero. Got to get the duck guy back up here again and not get the bat. But yeah, obviously missing Brett. Now Escobar's got to play third base for at least another week. Again, Guillorme going to do rehab tomorrow on Sunday. Maybe he's back Friday, but still, you're going to have a week and a half of Eduardo Escobar, left-handed, right-handed. Deal with it, and it'll be fun. But again, just when Brett seemed to kind of calm and getting used to big league play, the injury comes and, of course, now knocks him out for the rest of the month or most of the month. Hopefully, maybe we get some luck and he's back the last week of September. Probably not, but they said usually 4 to 5 weeks recovery. But again, it sucks. Again, now you got to deal with Eduardo Escobar for a full week in the lineup every day. And Devin Marrero's on this roster where potentially you could have got, maybe there's a chance if Brady isn't injured, you would have seen Mark Vientos because Darren Ruff sucks wiener.
That's it. Frank, Beatty's injury.
Yeah, I think the most frustrating aspect of it is we talked about the way the Mets approached the bullpen and the way they said, you know what, we're going to trust guys from within and we're not going to go out and get other guys. And we knew all along that the weaknesses in the lineup prior to the deadline was DH, third base, and catcher. They made multiple moves to address DH. Vogelback off to a good start. He's in a slump right now. They're rough. He got some lucky ground balls against the Braves. Hasn't done much since. Got the sacrifice today. Woohoo, big deal. We talked about, okay, well, maybe there's a chance that third base and catcher can be improved from within. You call up Baty to play third. Maybe you call up Alvarez to play catcher, and you could really have a full lineup from top to bottom. That obviously is not going to happen now with Baty's injury and with Alvarez's injury. So it's going to come down to, James McCann, Tomas Nido, Guillorme, Escobar. Those guys, they have no choice but to step up now. And the Mets have no choice but to play those guys every single day because, like Andrew said, they're not calling up Vientos, who is not a good defensive third baseman. We get it. Right now, with where you're on the season, there is no alternative. So you're going into the playoff series knowing that you do have at least 2 holes in the lineup. And when you're facing lefties, you have 3 holes in the lineup. So that's going to be tough to navigate. But you know what? If Baty's back, like I said, does he make the playoff roster? We'll see. Because you know what? It's one thing you're out 4 weeks, 5 weeks, but there has to be some rehab time in between, right? I mean, a little bit of getting back into the groove of things. Rehab assignment, minor league season's over by then. So it's just frustrating because you had this vision of like, okay, well, maybe there is a way the Mets can kind of cover up some of these weaknesses where now that's out the window. And the guys that they have, once again, are going to have to step up.
Yeah, it just subtracts a lot. You had Escobar out, you had Guillorme out, that kind of forced their hand to call up Baty. And then Baty goes down with Escobar back, Guillorme's still out. So it's like you just don't have a stable situation at third base. You haven't had one since the captain retired, and since he got originally injured. So we're looking at 2016? You haven't had like an actual stable third baseman where you're like, okay, this guy is going to be a valuable piece to the franchise. I don't want to hear JD Davis in 2019.
I mean,
Seriously,
before that, I think
enough.
David Wright was getting hurt as early as like what 2013,
Yeah.
2014.
Yeah,
when he
2013.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
the collision with Ike Davis was like the first initial one, right? I think.
Well, I mean, what really sparked his? Oh, by the way, the Braves are winning 1-0 in top fifth.
Lovely.
Go figure. I think it was his dive to apply a tag to Carlos Lee of the Houston Astros sometime in like 2012 or something. I only know that because I saw a great meme, and it was what women would do with the time machine. It would be to go and say, "I'm your granddaughter," and then the other below was what men would do, and it was David Wright, don't dive. Carlos Lee is going to go to third base on a base hit on July 7, 2012. Don't dive. Anyway,
That's funny. Carlos Lee's a big guy. It's like tagging a barn. How can that be like? I don't know. But other than,
I don't know where you go from that. Sorry.
Don't even ask me. Don't even ask. Devin Marrero is going to be starting in the postseason, folks, and that's how it's going to work. Or Canna can move to third base, and Tyler Naquin will start in left field.
Oh, I was about to say, don't you fucking say.
You can't put him
I
in
was about to. I would have
now.
thrown hands if you would have said
What do you want
it.
from me?
Exactly.
What do you want from me? All right, you can't put him in the postseason now, so it's over. But I think Michael Perez and Tomas Nido should just be the catchers, and you just get rid of that fat fuck. But you know what? I'm not the one managing this team, so whatever. I pretty much just care about the pitchers right now in the catching situation because I know I'm not going to get anything offensively from it. So, and all I can say from McCann is nothing. So, we'll get to Darren Ruff, and we'll get to the middle of the lineup struggling. Alonso does not look good, with Ruff batting behind him, who's also not looked good, who's there to kill lefties, hasn't killed lefties, kind of looked better against righties, to be honest, since he's landed with the Mets. Frank, you've been a little bit upset with Darren Ruff recently, since he came in to take over the great JD Davis. So, what do you think about this whole situation with Darren Ruff?
Who we start with me?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Andrew, but I guess I'll have to take this one. Okay, so mistake number one. First of all, mistake number one was you got a guy who, the majority of his career, past few years, was not playing baseball in America. That was red flag number one. That already was. You go to your great baseball Fangraphs page. It's got the Asian letters next to his name. That's the first bad sign. Okay. Then number two, you look at the age above 35. I get Michael Kadire PTSD, and he's getting more and more like Kadire by the day. Number three, he put on JD Davis's jersey number. You know that number was already cursed, so why would you wear it? You're doing the same thing JD Davis. He hit a long fly ball, and they catch it. So he's doing the same production that JD Davis gave you. And it's so clear he's struggling. It's not just this week. It's been for a while now. And every day we say, okay, you want to start against lefties? Fine, because it's not going to be Naquin. It's not going to be Vogelbach. Just don't bat him after Pete. Because we know Alonso is so important to this team. Don't bat him fifth. He bat him fifth every single day this week. And it's just like, why? It's so clearly not working. And there's one thing I can't stand is, Buck's done a great job this year. Don't get me wrong. But when something is obvious and you're being stubborn about it, like it's clearly not working, try something different. Mark Canha and Jeff McNeil were two of the best hitters in baseball in August. Those are the guys that should be batting after Pete. You have the hot bat after the guy that is struggling. Because if you're going right in the middle of the order, like you said, all the guys are struggling, and when we know the 8-9 aren't going to give you much, it makes it tough to score runs. You're looking at Starling Marte carrying the team, and you're looking at blue hits and errors as the reason you're scoring runs. And that's what the Mets had to do in this series. So it's not a good recipe for success. And just the way that, I guess we'll get to Vientos because he kind of gets into this whole equation. what boggles my mind is the Mets line of thinking with roster construction is, oh, the emergency. All these different emergencies. Oh, Devin Marrero needs to be here in the emergency. Then we need a backup shortstop. In the emergency, we need a backup third baseman. They haven't used them yet. And when Yomar Sanchez was here, he wasn't playing the field much. In this emergency scenario that the Mets have that's just for one game, you move Escobar to shortstop. In a worst-case scenario, you move Jeff McNeil to shortstop because he's played over there a little bit with all these different shifts the Mets do, and he's played so well at second base, it shouldn't be that hard of a transition. And even McNeil, again, in the emergency that all these emergencies the Mets are going to have, McNeil has played some third base in his career. Mark Hanna has played some third base in his career. They cover all your emergencies. So the fact that they have him called up over Vientos, who could help you more often than all these emergency situations that the Mets are going to have with third base and shortstop, because Vientos could be starting for you. I mean, think of what just happened. We're talking about the NLCS and the possibility of facing the Los Angeles Dodgers. If you're facing them in a playoff series, they have 3 left-handers in the rotation. They have even more left-handers in the bullpen. You're going to need that spot a lot more. So it's like I would rather call up a guy that I know has a chance for me that can be on my playoff roster, because Devin Marrero is not going to be on this playoff roster. At least he better not be. So I'm just looking at it from more of a long-term vision, not worrying about these emergencies. And you know what? We have to call up Terrence Gore because his speed is so good, and we can't pitch hit for the catchers because another emergency, we need that third catcher. So it's just like the Mets have this roster construction and their bench all based off all these emergencies. And guess what? These emergencies never happen. So they're just planning for all this stuff that doesn't happen. And I just don't think they're getting the most usage out of guys that could actually be helping them, because guess what? If you called up Michael Perez instead, you could have pinch hit for McCann. You could have pinch hit for Nino. But no, we got to make sure we are prepared for all these emergencies that constantly happen on the daily basis. So, you know what? Emergencies, Mets are covered. In the right now, they're not. I don't agree with the line of construction, but obviously, like we said, we're not the managers.
All right. Well, Tony, would you like to follow that?
He pretty much took the words out of my mouth. I mean, if Devin Marrero is going to be getting an at-bat in a big spot, then we have a huge problem. So, I mean, at this point, there's nothing that they can change. I think Mark Vientos should have been called up 2 weeks ago, probably even longer ago. Braves 2-0, of course. Every time they flash the score, I'm watching the replay of Mets Dodgers. The Braves go up another run. I can't stand it. I just don't get the thing with Vientos. I know he doesn't play good defense. I know he has a crazy bad strikeout rate at AAA, but it can't be worse than rough. And there's no chance on this earth that Devin Marrero is going to put up a more competitive at bat than Vientos would. I mean,
oh boy,
I don't know.
Oh boy, would you like to go? Should I release you?
No. let Andrew have this segment. We'll see.
I don't know why you're thinking I'm going to go ballistic here. I don't know.
No, Frank, because Frank saw something in the chat and he just set up his sniper rifle. So, Andrew, go ahead.
Stay clear. Yeah, I mean, obviously everybody's been saying it. And my biggest thing is you want this obviously emergency situation. You're getting Guillorme back in a week. And like in the case of just put him, even if just get him on the roster today, you could send him down tomorrow and he's still gonna be active for the playoffs. So if you were that need be, I could censor myself occasionally. For a backup shortstop, but you have Eduardo Escobar who can do that. You had him going to Brooklyn playing shortstop. Besides the point. But the fact that you could have just put him on the roster. That's what the Yankees did. Oswaldo needed to be here for fucking 2 weeks ago, setting it down. But yeah, they needed a shortstop. They brought him up. Even just put him on the roster for the day. If you're this godforsaken for Francisco Lindor, who has been healthy majority of his Mets career, you don't really need the backup shortstop. You're getting Luis Guillorme back in a week. And you know Darren, I've already told you what Darren Ruff is. You don't have any production out of your DH, which, again, you don't have to put him at third base, especially against lefty, because Escobar, the fairy tale that he actually can hit left-handed pitching. You don't have to play him. He can just be the extra bat off the bench or power source that you need behind Pete. It doesn't make any sense. Devin Marrero, If, like Frank said with Darren Ruff, you know it's a problem when Darren Ruff's got Japanese or Korean letters. When you look at Devin Marrero's, it has an LID. That's worse than going and playing in Korea. That's playing in front of like 200 people in a crappy ballpark with overpriced chicken tenders. Yeah, that's a problem. The Ducks suck, and you're signing someone from the Long Island Ducks. That's worse than signing somebody from the KBL.
54 minutes we went without talking about food, folks. That's crazy shit.
But my point exactly. The fact that they want a defensive shortstop when you have Alvarez. You have Lindor, who's been healthy pretty much his whole career, minus that one oblique last year, which, again, was one of the second injury in his career. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and again, the thing is that, like you said, like, they're talking about the mercy of just for one game. Like, if there was an injury that was going to happen, you could send the guy, you could, put him on the injury list and then call somebody up. It's very easy. But you don't have to do that with the guy being on the roster today. That's the thing that's so frustrating about it. It's just that they're preparing for all these emergencies that never happen. I just think they're being a little too cautious with the way they're doing this roster.
Let's not stray from no emergency. I mean, let's remember when Lindor caught his finger in that door. All right, and
still almost played.
And he still almost played. And he played through it, man.
All right,
so,
yeah. Speaking of the injuries,
disaster, averted. Yeah. Go ahead.
Because I thought about this the other day. Brett Beatty, I'm talking to you directly. You's a bitch. You had Lindor play through a finger injury. You had McNeil play through a finger injury. And your bitch ass needs to have surgery. Come on. The precedent is set. You can play with 4 fingers. Hell, Robinson Cancel played with meaty fingers. That's really just one finger because he was so fat. You don't need that many fingers to play baseball. And the fact that the precedent was set with McNeil and Lindor, and you're going to cry, oh, my finger, I dove and I jammed. Come on, Brett. You don't got that dog. That doesn't show me you got dog. You got Chihuahua. Chihuahuas aren't even a dog. They're just Mexican Taco Bell dogs. They don't count.
What? Wow.
I don't think any of these finger injuries, I don't think any of them were a tear. That was probably the reason why.
McNeil had a fracture.
He had a fracture.
Sorry, Lindor had the fracture with the,
Lindor had the fracture. McNeil had a
stitches.
Stitches or whatever.
Yeah. Alonso had a pretty nasty
bruise. Yeah, the swelling.
Bruise. And then Max had the bite, right?
Yeah, the dog bite.
Dog bite.
The non-story bite, but of course we had to talk about that for what was it, like a good 12 hours before the busy Max Scherzer had to go onto Twitter and say
another guy. You don't need fingers. You just need 2 of them, 3 of them, I guess technically.
I mean, 3 finger. I mean, come on. It was a thing back in the day. We had all these guys nicknamed 3 fingers. Like, we're good. You don't need them.
Don't need
What were your guys? What were your expectations from Beatty in this final month and then potentially the playoffs if he was included on the roster? Because, he was starting to show some young player habits. He's starting to get exposed a little bit, So, I mean, do you guys think he was going to be a big part of this offense anyway, even if he was, or do you think he was going to continue to slump?
I will say that I think he came into the league, like the major leagues, exactly how I pictured him to. Being able to catch up to major league pitching, just not being able to lift the ball yet, and having a lot of inconsistencies with his, he has a quick swing, but his bat control can be crazy, and that's something that can really fuck him up. But all I can say is that if you have him batting 8th, it's better than the other options that you have there. He's definitely he's had competitive at bats, and that's what I'm seeing from him. Again, he's a little bit older than the typical prospect that usually gets called up, or the typical top prospect that gets called up, but I think he's adjusted pretty well so far. It sucks that, he's going to have a big time gap between playing again, but I think you started to see him come out of it a little bit. And I mean, you saw me, I was keeping track, 6 straight lifting the ball, the little things that you're looking for with a rookie. But you know what? If he can have a full rookie year next year, again, it's like the same thing I'm going with Alvarez. These guys are pieces that you see as future pieces to your franchise. Don't push this. They didn't push with Baty. He needs surgery. Fine. If he needs to come back the next year, I can live with Eduardo Escobar for a little bit more. But all I can say is that, again, going back to Alvarez and everything, this is a slippery slope. And we've seen a lot of young players be ruined by the Mets medical staff by making the wrong decision at the wrong time. We already know, a few come to mind already. I know, like, just from the three of you, I knew a few just came to mind just now of guys who've been ruined by the medical staff and ruined because of injury in a young, very talented potential career. So all I can say is that, it sucks that Beatty, so early in his career had to go down, but like, injuries happen. They happen. And to be honest, I'm going to tell you right now, we know a lot about injured third basemen. So all I can say is that, get the surgery out of the way, get 100%. If he's back opening day, he's back opening day. It happens. Anything else on Baty, and then we'll get to the stuff that we hinted a little bit about, the September call-ups, which have just been fantastic. September call-ups. I made a video solo. Rhino wasn't there, abandoned me completely. Piece of shit. Fuck you. Of 6 potential guys that they can call up. 0 of them were called up hours later after that video was posted. Maybe it was my mistake. Probably should have posted, maybe an hour or 2 earlier than it was. Whatever. Not really seeing much creativity from the 2 guys that they just brought up. Devin Marrero, we know what he can do. He played for the Long Island Ducks. That's all you need to know. Adonis Medina, we've seen this year, and that's a good addition. Again, kind of just makes me think that they're just banking on these guys to stay healthy. Again, like we've said since the trade deadline. Frank, how do you feel about, obviously we've talked about the roster construction and everything, but like during the time being, and again, you don't really have that hard of a schedule coming up, but like, in any way do you feel that the Mets can possibly put out 28 or 26 players of a competitive team? Like in this whole scenario of all the injuries and all these guys coming out. I mean, what do you think about what they just did last night? What was it at like near midnight, calling up Devin Marrero and Adonis Medina? What do you think?
So you're asking me if they have 28 Major League Baseball.
No, I'm asking you that, like, if they wait out, the whole situation with McGill and Drew Smith or Luis Guillorme and all these guys that are injured, Lucchese, guys like that. Like, how confident do you feel in this roster construction going into the postseason? You know what I mean?
Right.
They can't do anything now. They can't bring up Vientos. They can't bring in Alvarez, God forsake if he plays or not. They could bring up Khalil Lee, but not many guys that are eligible. They kind of closed.
Oh wait, why can they bring Khalil Lee up? Because he was
on the roster earlier
at one point in the. Okay, I see.
Yeah, so they can bring up Michael Perez too, I think, and then they can bring up Nick Plummer. I don't think they're going to do that. They can bring up Dominic Smith, who is going to be the savior.
They could bring up Paul. Wouldn't Polka be eligible? He's not on the 40.
No. I don't know if
because they didn't call
he's
him
not
up
even
at
on the 40 man.
Year.
I don't even think he's on the 40 man.
I thought I saw a tweet from Tacoma yesterday that they were like traveling to New York. Did that not occur? I thought that Polka was a September call up.
It wasn't about them traveling to New York. It was actually about them not being in the lineup in Syracuse last night.
Okay.
So
I mean, it amazes me that guys like Sean Reed Foley are still on the 40 man. Stuff like that. It's just like, is Sean Reed Foley really gonna have a role on this team next year? No. I mean, if you just want to get rid of him, he's injured anyway. Didn't you have Tommy John? Didn't you have Tommy John? I mean, just get rid of him and put Polk on the 40 man. Like, it really isn't that complicated. But I think that it's like we said, healthy. Like everybody is fully healthy. Guillermo comes back. Drew Smith comes back. Lucas, Miguel. Like we said, if everybody's healthy, I feel pretty good about the roster. But if there's any injuries, particularly at third base, particularly in the outfield, yikes. That's all I'm gonna say. Because it's like we said, if by any case that Denver is getting any at bats or Terrence Gore is getting any at bats, we are in big trouble. So I think as long as that doesn't happen, we're okay. And you know what? Those guys shouldn't be on the play. We said those guys shouldn't be on the playoff roster at all under any circumstances. We hope not. But I think we can all agree there was a different way to go about this. There was a better way to go about this. And what I'm curious to see is that once Carlos Carrasco is eligible, do they send down Peterson? And if so, I always like to talk about what does Trevor Williams' role become? Because then my question is, well, what is Adonis Medina's role? Because we're just talking about like usage. Call up guys that you're going to use that you feel like are going to have a big role for you. I don't really see a scenario where Adonis Medina is coming in right now. I mean, unless everybody is completely tired. Again, it's like these emergencies. Everybody's completely tired. You're up by a million runs. You're down by a million runs. Then maybe you go to Medina. Because other than that, you have Hunter, who hasn't been used much. Like I said, we haven't seen Trevor Williams at all. Once Carrasco comes back, he's your long reliever. So I just think that I just really wonder, like, we haven't seen Devin Marrero at all. Terrence Gore pinched ran today. He stole the base. Amazing. That was worth the call up right there. I'm being sarcastic, obviously, but I just think that there was a better way to go about this. And as far as it's more so position player depth is what I'm more worried about than the bullpen depth, where it's like we just cannot have any injuries at all, because if we do, the next guys up are just not capable.
They're putting too many chips onto the poker table. I really feel like because like you're one or two injuries away from we're fucked. We're really fucked. And JT Riddle is starting third base in game 1 of the National League Division Series. So all I could say is that like they're playing with fire here, and that's really what's like. And they shut the door even more by who they called up yesterday. I don't know. I think I made some really good points in that video of guys that they could use on the roster. But you know what? What the fuck do I know? Tony, you want to talk about anything with this roster and what they did with September call-ups? And I know you had some stuff about Vientos that you wanted to talk about. But...
No, I mean, I just think they handcuffed themselves. Devin Marrero cannot be having a meaningful at bat or playing a position. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, we talked about Vientos. I'd much prefer to see him have gotten a shot here in September and then saw if maybe he'd have been worthy of carrying on the playoff roster. Obviously, we're not going to get to see that now. And as far as the, bullpen or, just the extra arms, I'm really hoping that Tyler McGill is going to come in and be an effective reliever, because that's pretty much what I almost called him Brody Van Wagenen. That's pretty much what Billy Epler stated, that we got guys coming back. Okay, great. Well, Trevor May's been back. He really, for the most part, has been terrible. You got Tyler McGill. Hopefully he's never pitched out of the bullpen at the major league level, as far as I know. Joey Lucchesi hasn't pitched in over a year, almost a year and a half, coming off Tommy John surgery. So you really are banking on a lot of things going your way, and the Mets, at least in the past, don't typically get the benefit of the doubt and the luck. So I'm of the belief it's better to be safe than sorry. Obviously, Billy Epler didn't think that way, so it kind of sucks.
If you ask Spencer Strider, we get the luck all the time. So all I can say is, maybe this is just a season of luck and nothing will ever go wrong. Right? No? All right. But all I can say, one thing about the roster construction, Terrence Gore, I think he should be on the playoff roster just for luck. He's a 2-time World Series champion. Why not? Right? Why not? But yeah, all I see is Malik Smith from this guy. So it's like, what are we going to get from here? He did hit pretty well. What was it? 2 years ago, whatever, but who cares? Small sample. Who cares?
Question.
But yeah.
other than Max Scherzer, is there anybody else on this 26-man roster that has won a World Series? No,
Probably not.
I don't think so. Right? I mean, that's pretty
Terrence
bizarre
Moore.
when you think about that. It really shows how big of a signing it was. Like, think about that. None of these guys have been there before. Like,
Well,
It's
Carrasco's been there. He never won it.
I
Same
mean,
with
so
Lindor.
is Jake. Oh,
He'd been there.
Frozen
They didn't
Frank.
win it.
right.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I was saying that Carrasco and Lindor have been there. They just didn't win it.
There has to be somebody else, right?
No,
I'm
Tommy
pretty
Hunt. The
sure-
Rangers choked both times. There goes Tommy Hunter's chances.
No more Canada.
Tommy Hunter was on those Rangers teams?
Yeah, him and like Kobe Lopez. Yeah.
My God.
He was on. He was one of Buck's guys on in Baltimore too.
In Baltimore, they won it. Yeah, it's a fact. Besides, like Lindor, Carrasco, they've been there.
I'm
Mike
trying to think
Givens?
Ottavino, but
Mike
no.
Givens,
It's
20
Colorado,
no,
no.
I've given the
Baltimore.
Orioles, nah, the wild card.
Really.
Otto didn't win it. He wasn't on Boston when they won.
No, yeah.
No. Yeah, that would have been the closest.
But yeah, the
probably.
Grom's been like two. We're
Yeah,
saying like, guys
yeah.
like one.
He went to the World Series. That was back when we thought Matt Harvey was an ace. Times have changed.
Michael Givens.
They had a chance to bring back Todd Frazier. He was in a World Series. The Little
Little
League
League World Series also, just so you know. Don't know if you
Yeah.
know that.
That was the only World Series I was referring to. So, but yeah, lack of experience is there. I mean, you have some guys that have been in the postseason, but like none have made the big deep playoff run, and it's just another thing to add to the list of why Max Scherzer is such a big piece to this team. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We had a poll in the chat, and that's the last thing I'm going to address, and then we'll probably end it off here of who the top priority in free agency is for the Mets out of all their free agents behind Jacob deGrom. Looks like Diaz has a majority of that. I don't know if that's recency bias or not. If it is recency bias, you probably have, Brandon Nimmo as well with the amazing catch he made last night. Chris Bassett was another choice. I think a few people picked that. And then nobody picked other. No one wanted to be creative, even though I think Taijuan Walker is the number one guy to bring back when he opts out. But other than that, final thoughts, final this, final that. Andrew, I'll start with you. You were the last person to enter, so you'll be the first person to talk in the final segment here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, of those guys, the free agency, I mean, it is Nimmo. You know my relationship with relievers, and especially this is a very good reliever market. If you're telling me bring back Diaz or sign 3 really good relievers, taking the quantity over the one quality. But again, Nimmo should be after Jake. Obviously, you take the everyday player. But if Diaz wants a Liam Hendricks contract where it's like you can get out of it, it looks big, but you can get out of it. I can do it. I'm not giving you clean, hard 4 years and a bunch of money. You can go sign for the Phillies for that note. If you want a Liam Hendricks where I got an escape hatch, if you turn back into a pumpkin, then yeah. But I'm not giving you hard 4 years and north of 17 per year. So give me Nimmo first. Then obviously Bassett has that now. When he did the arbitration, he has that $19 million option next year. I would expect him to pick that $19 million option up. So you take Bassett off the list, at least for next year. And then obviously Carrasco, Walker, the depth of rotation isn't as good as it is reliever market, but you can find trades and you can develop. Obviously you have some guys in, but for me, it's Nimmo. And then depending on what Diaz is wanting, if Jeff Passan's saying he's $100 million, he can go be a $100 million closer for the Rockies.
Okay. Well, Frank, is Diaz the top guy? Is Nimmo the top guy? What would you say? Behind Jacob deGrom. Obviously, deGrom's the number one guy.
I'll say just because of their position, Nimmo is the top priority. I think that even though he has his flaws, it is tough to replace his strengths. Not every center fielder makes that catch he made, and more so, not every center fielder works an 8-pitch at bat and gets on base the clip that he does. we saw some good things of him going lefty, slapping the ball the other way, going against the shift. I want to see more of that. I feel like that's when Brandon was at his best, when he's not trying to be too pull happy, because it's not really his game. His game is more just get on base, however you could do it, work the count, 2-strike hitting, just slap it the other way. And I just think that, again, he's with relievers, it's just too risky. I mean, Diaz, he's the best one in baseball, so if there's one you're going to do it for, he has to be the one, right? But it's so risky. It really is. And at least with Nimmo, it's like that you have a better chance of him aging better than you do with any reliever, no matter who it is. So I think just because of the position they play, Nimmo has to be a top priority. I do really want to keep Chris Bassett, mostly because of just how durable he is. I mean, that's something you can't teach, especially this particular starting pitching free agent market. These guys are old as me. I mean, there is a lot of old fellas on that market. So give me the guy who gives you the 6 innings, the 7 innings, go 110 pitches every single time now. That stuff is just really important for the whole team. Not just the day he pitches, but resting the bullpen, not making everybody have to be overused. Things like that, they make such a big difference. Being able just to make a start every 5 days, whether good or bad, he still gives you innings. It's hard to replace that. So if he does reject that $19 million, I'm willing to go over $20 million to get him back. I think he is that important to this team. So, and again, he doesn't come with the off-the-field drama that some other starting pitchers did. So all these guys are important. We want to bring them all back. It won't be easy, especially if we do want to make those, eventually extend Alonso and these other guys. It's Steve Cohen's got a lot of money, but I don't know if he has infinite money. So there's going to be a lot of tough decisions, and we'll see who they can actually end up retaining.
Yeah, I think Nimmo is not easy to replace, and that's something that I would love to say, and then I'd love to say him as but that closer, man, he's been.
We got Bros Montes. We were good.
I know we do, but he has not pitched at the major league level yet. But all I can say is that he's trying to force your hand here. He really has pitched incredible.
He's really trying to Josh Hader you. It's just Josh Hader, except he's Puerto Rican. He's already turning to Josh Hader. What's the fly ball rate the last couple days? It's Josh Hader pumpkin time. You don't pay relievers.
That's just
you don't pay relievers. Don't matter what it is.
Please stop with the blatant racism. But if I were to pick one, it probably would be Nimmo and the sensible of I'm not here to pay a reliever, but hey, Diaz is making a good case. That's all I got to say. Tony, who are you taking behind DeGrom? If you have to pick one of our free agents, who you're taking behind him?
Yeah, it's really tough. Honestly, I can't even pick, man. It's tough because how could you not want to re-sign Diaz after this season? But then there's also the con of relievers being so finicky and year to year, and especially how's he going to be? I don't think he's going to be throwing 103 4 years from now. You know what I mean? Not that that's necessary, but it's
possible. It's possible because he's only 28. Again, he is only 28. He is younger than a lot of these relievers going on the market.
I think I look at it this way. You're never going to get another season like this from Diaz again. And you can find a closer that can get the job done and close the door, just maybe not with as much flash. And I'm not saying I don't want Diaz back. What I am saying, however, is that I really am not crazy about seeing Taijuan Walker in the rotation next year. He's going to probably opt out. I'm not signing him again. Not to the deal he's going to want. Carlos Carrasco, up and down, up and down, up and down, another year older next year. And the Mets have no starting pitching ready to step into the rotation. David Peterson has his flaws. Tyler McGill can't stay healthy. I mean, we're looking at a rotation next year, unless we're imagining DeGrom was re-signed of DeGrom, Scherzer, and then Carrasco. Then you throw what else you have between Peterson and McGill, and it's Chris Bassett's really important to this team, I think. So I'd have to see the numbers. You'd have to give me the official word on what they're getting, what they're asking for, and I could give you a better answer. But I really have to say I think Chris Bassett is really important to this team.
It is a crazy thought with Chris Bassett because, I mean, not the off-field drama that we're comparing to the other pitcher from last year, who's kind of similar to him in a type of, starting pitching way, pitching to contact and stuff like that. But we did talk about how Stroman was a priority to bring back.
But
And
we
that
didn't know
was-
Scherzer was on the table at the time.
Yeah, we
weren't
didn't
really
know
thinking.
Scherzer was on the table again. And no, who knows? Maybe Verlander gets a 1-year deal with us. We don't know. I don't know. We know Clayton Kershaw is also a free agent after this year.
Oh, stop
We know
it.
he can still deal it.
Never
Want to go
leave.
all in the 2 to 3 year time frame? Go ahead. But we didn't know. Again, we also knew Gosman was also on the table as well. And remember, they tried to get Scherzer and Gosman. So we'll see what they explore. That's all I can say. Again, we haven't even gotten to the postseason yet, which we know the Mets are 100% making because they've never choked anything in their
The
lives.
NL East is over.
It's over. They haven't passed us yet. I mean, Salicata's spitting facts, right? So, other than that, I mean, again, conversation for another day. But with the money bags in the owner's box, it is something to think about before the season ends, and with a lot of free agents, and you added a lot of free agents too with Michael Givens, who I'm sure we all want to bring back, right? And Vogelbach's got an option.
Darren Ruff's got options.
No, he doesn't. It's a player option, isn't it?
I don't know what it is. I know he's.
Don't tell me it's a player option. A 37-year-old fucking.
He's got 2 years of control. I think it was. It's like 2 years of. Yeah.
Oh God.
Hey, they gave up 4 assets.
They said, no, we can't get a rental. PCA, we can't get a rental by any means.
Oh my God. Meanwhile, Carson Seymour just mows down hitters in AAA and in the next year. Oh God, that sucks. Okay. But other than that, we'll get to closing statements. The final thing that we want to say before we shut off the stream completely and never come back. Tony, I'll start with you. Last thing that you want to say going into this soft September schedule for the Mets.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. I think they're going to take care of business. I think this was a great way to kind of catapult them into this next month of baseball. I mean, the margin for error is still really slim because the Braves just are fucking good. But overall, I'm really excited. I expect this team to finish out the job, win the National League East. And I just hope they'll have enough left in the tank come October. Be a whole nother conversation, but I'm just really excited for October baseball. It's been 5 years, 5.5, whatever years since 2016. I don't even count the wild card, so 7 years. So yeah, just really excited for that.
It really has been that long. Holy shit.
Yes, it has.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That hit me a little bit. Frank,
Yes.
last words, because I know you got a lot out of him today in this hour and 22 minutes.
Ducks belong on a pond. Korean baseball organization players belong in Korea, not at DH, and Ducks don't belong on third base. So don't suck. You got very beatable teams. Beat them.
All right. Andrew?
Yeah, again, fatten up. You got a cupcake schedule, go to work. Got to beef them up, got to beef up September 5th through September 11th. The Braves have Seattle, San Francisco, and somebody else. That's when the division is going to be determined, especially with still a 3-game lead. If Julio and the boys can do us some damage and take a couple games while we're playing, I think, the Marlins and Pirates during that stretch, that week could determine the NL East. But again, you got to beef up, go to work, whoop ass. You're playing better teams. Just don't 2007, don't 2008, don't choke.
Why?
Stop.
Don't choke. And guess what? They won't choke. Because I saw the future. I predict the future. They're not choking. They're going to win by 7.5. They're going to win the division by 7.5 games.
You're forgiven for now.
Fire here. You're playing with fire.
I'm playing with fire.
You are playing with fire.
My
here,
jinx
buddy.
works. Look, Edwin Diaz is the best reliever in baseball now. I had this. My jinx works. Like Tony's does sometimes.
That's fact.
And it's a recorded, so you have the footage. My jinx helps.
Okay. All right.
7.5.
Great.
The clincher will be September 28th.
The upcoming schedule: Nationals, Pirates, Marlins, Cubs, Pirates again. Beat the living shit out of them. I only am going to accept 2 losses out of all of those games. That's the only thing I'll accept. Knowing them, they'll probably lose 7 games. But other than that, all I can say is that, what is it? I saw something from yesterday. Their magic number to just clinch a playoff spot was 20.
Now it's 19.
And now it's 19, I guess. I don't think they have to win 20 games. I think it's like a combination of other teams losing
Wins,
and them
losses,
winning.
yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Games dropping off.
Whatever. Yeah. So I know how it works with the division. Playoff spots, not really sure. So if they can lock down a playoff spot in this stretch of playing garbage teams, bottom feeders that are playing spoiler, which we all love, then they're in pretty good shape. They put themselves in the driver's seat out of taking 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers. They are 3.5 games ahead of the Braves. Probably going to be 3 after the end of the night because, the Rockies are the Rockies against the Braves. Can't really expect much help there. So other than that, let's go Mets. It's the final push. September baseball. You got to play well to set yourself up for the postseason. So we're getting really close. Another month. That's all we got to say. And still sitting in first place, and fingers are still crossed because that's just how the fan base is. So other than that, we'll see you guys next time. Might have another video coming out maybe in 2 days. I don't know. Haven't mapped it out yet. But other than that, we'll see you guys. Let's go Mets. EmpireSportsMedia.com for New York sports media, not just baseball. Links are all in the description. Follow all of us individually. And we'll see you guys next time. LFGM.